All right, welcome back. Jeff Marshall here, Next Level Guitar. Today I want to get into something. I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but I had a student of mine request that I actually tab out some of the ideas I was showing him in a lesson. And so I thought, well, since I've kind of gone through that level of work to tab some of these ideas out, I thought I would share them with you guys, and hopefully you can benefit from it. And basically what we're talking about today is 5-note groupings. Now, I remember back probably maybe the early 90s or so, somewhere in the 90s, when Shawn Lane, if you guys remember Shawn Lane, he came out with a record called Powers of 10, and he also did a REH video, and you can see some of those videos on YouTube, and they're old, so they're grainy and they're a little hard to follow, but I remember seeing it on a VHS tape back in the day. And I went through a big Shawn Lane phase for a while there because he's just an insane guitar player. But some of the main things I got from him is he showed this little pattern, and it was in a grouping of 5, and I kind of took that pattern and started extrapolating it around the guitar. And then of course we all know the typical kind of Eric Johnson patterns, so I took some of those patterns and I just kind of threw them all together and just came up with some ideas. And so I thought I'd share those with you today, since I've already tabbed them out and done all the work here. So let's go ahead and jump over to our screen here. And I'll start with example number 1, and you can see we have 5-note grouping ideas. Okay, so example number 1 is the very first one that Shawn Lane showed in his video. It wasn't the first example, but when it was a pattern that he talked about, and he did it in this pattern. Now you can do it in any pentatonic. Now these most of these ideas are going to be based off of pentatonics. I also have some triads and some arpeggio ideas and some extended pentatonics. But it just so happens that it just works really great with pentatonics. So this first one that he showed, this example, was using this particular pattern of an A minor pentatonic. And this is a really good one because all the forward notes of this pattern all end up on the same fret here. The back notes are a little different, but this can kind of get you going. So the trick to these patterns, a lot of them, is that you have to use 2 forward fingers. So you can imagine you could kind of start out by just doing a little exercise where you play the low note here with this finger, and then you alternate. Because if you just use 2 fingers and you go, you're just not going to be able to get it up fast enough, I think, to create some nice phrases. And not only that, there is going to be some spots where we want to pay attention to picking. So by doing this little exercise, it might get you used to doing a style of economy picking that might be beneficial in some of these ideas. So think of this as 2 downstrokes and then upstroke, and that kind of resets you back to a downstroke here. So that's kind of the basic premise, and I've also give some examples of how I might pick these, but there's no exact science to this. You could kind of play around with it however you want. So the first grouping of 5 is based off of that first little group of 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5. There's the grouping. Now what that allows you to do is start on the next string set, right? And then continue on to the next string set. Right? So you get... And the cool thing about groupings of 5 is you notice I have them all annotated as 16th notes. So as I've mentioned before, when you play groupings of 5-note groupings against a 4-note rhythmic thing like a 16th note, or even depending on the tempo, if it's a faster tempo, it might be 8th notes, but it's an even number. It's either 2s or 4s, and so what you get is this 5 against 4 type thing where the accent is displaced. A lot of times when you do 4-note groupings, like let's say if you just did something like this. can hear that da-da-da-da-da-da, you can hear the downbeat. But when you add that extra note in there, that 5-note grouping, it goes da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. It starts over on an upbeat until it eventually, through so many rotations, gets back to a downbeat. So that's where I really like these type of little 5-note sequences, because you can loop a sequence and it it kind of gives this illusion of syncopation, even though it's really not syncopated. It's more the accents or the restart of the 5-note grouping feels syncopated in a way, if that makes sense. So, by the way, I want to also mention that I've been exploring some of my TrueFire courses here lately, and man, TrueFire, I don't know if you guys are hip to TrueFire or not, but I'm certainly a member, and I have a number of courses on there. I'll leave some links in the description of some of my courses, and also they're always running specials on All Access. It's such a great, it's such a great deal, because I think it's like less than $10 a month, and there's so many great players on there giving instructions. And the great thing about a place like TrueFire is that, you can certainly go on YouTube and learn things, but you're getting all these splotchy things, a little bit disconnected. Different people talk about different things differently. But with TrueFire, they have these whole courses. So you could sit down with one of my courses, and it's a theme. I have one called Legends of Blues Rock, which talks about some of the great blues rock players of our time. I've got another one called Inside and Out, which is just really exploring the guitar and how it lays out and how it pertains to maybe a little bit of music theory, that kind of thing. And of course, then there's other great players like Larry Carlton and Robin Ford going through some of their ideas. It's amazing. So I would highly suggest you checking that out. Check out the links in the description. All right, well, let's get going again. So example number 2 here is kind of a different version of that. What you'll notice with this first one is the 5-note grouping is just on 2 strings, right? So there's our 5-note grouping then. And by the way, I'm just staying in the key of A minor pentatonics. The next one I just did in the next box, but you can apply these to all your boxes, okay? So now this one, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing it in the box 4 here. I call this box 4 from the Cage system, based around this E-shaped chord. We're doing kind of a 3-note, 3-string grouping here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now we're expanding up to 3 strings. Now we can start it over. You can see my middle finger here is ready to go. That's why you get the 2 fingers forward like that. Now I can start here on the next string group. On the next string group, my finger is ready to go. Fingers ready to go here for the next group. So. Right, and of course, like you can do that with any pattern. So, it's a combination of that little lesson that I stole from Shawn Lane, and also certainly stealing from the great Eric Johnson, who's easily one of my favorite players over time. So, okay, so those are 2 common things, and I've got my suggested picking here, and this is basically the same kind of picking pattern, 2 downstrokes, upstroke, downstroke, up, right? That's going to change on some of these, but you should also explore what works for you. And if you're not used to this kind of 2 downstrokes in a row, this kind of economy style picking, what you want to think about is a thing called rest strokes. Okay, so rest strokes, to kind of get the feel of that, it's almost like a mini sweep. When you pick that first note, you can do this real slow to start off with. Pick that first note and let your pick, let me see if you can see my pick here. Let it rest on that next string so you can push through it. Right? In other words, don't pick the note and pull away from the guitar. Let your pick glide right down to the next string. So it's resting there. That's a rest stroke. And then you can push through it and sound the note. So if you're kind of new to that technique, that's just a good little exercise, just doing, on adjacent strings, looping that and getting used to that rest stroke in there. Now this one, this next one that I have is just on the same picking pattern, and also similar approach to my fingering here. I'm just giving you an example of how you can just do this on adjacent strings moving up the guitar. So for example, you could do this on any string set. I'm just doing it on the high B and high E string. And sometimes I'll use this to kind of climb up the neck. So if I do something in a position and I want to continue it on, maybe I'll go up on the top 2 strings. So it's kind of good to flesh this out. So again, we're in A minor pentatonic. I'm just going to start down here. I'm kind of in this pattern here. And it's the same kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then we just move up to the next box. All right, and the next box. And the next box. But you don't want to break it up like I just did there. You want to do it continuous. So you have to kind of do some slides here. And it can, depending on the tempo, it can get a little tricky. Right, so there's your kind of grouping of 5. You see how I slid up? Because I want to make sure that I'm staying in a nice 16th note feel. 1 E and a 2 E and a... Now, I also want to also say I didn't write this because I'm focusing on groups of 5 in a 16th note feel, this kind of 5 against 4. But sometimes I do play these as a 16th note triplet. So if you look at it like a 16th note triplet, there's obviously 6 notes there, right? But if you rest on one of them, or play through one of them as maybe more of an 8th note, you can get a 6-note grouping feel, I should say, even though it's still a 5-note grouping. Here's an example. Da, 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 da. So that's another way you could get a little bit more mileage out of this 5 grouping, is to think of it as a 16th note triplet feel with one note either kind of rested or played through, sustained through, right? So here it is as 16th notes. Let me zoom in on the old hands again here. So we got... Now if I did it as a 16th note triplet type feel... Well, that's cool. I get a little bit more bang for my buck there. All right, just something to think about. It's super important to understand how rhythms work because you can really use it to your advantage. Okay, this next one is more of a descending pattern, and I just did this in the good old blues box here. I call it box 4 from the Cage system. Some people call it box 1. Doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it. But of course, you can apply these to all of the pentatonic boxes. All right, so this particular pattern, in some of the forward notes that are on the same string requires a little bit of a roll. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, you can do economy picking here. 1, I'll start with a downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, and 2 downstrokes up. So. It's kind of that somewhat Eric Johnson-y thing. It's not exactly what Eric Johnson does. It's kind of my own pattern that I actually just reversed this Shawn Lane pattern and said, okay, I can just do this on 2 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now there I'm stopping, but again, if you want to get that 5 against 4 effect, you want to just keep a steady stream of 16th notes. And you can do another pattern. So on and so forth. All right, so the next example, example number 5, I'm going to I don't want to make this video too long. Some of these you might have seen before if you're into that kind of style of pentatonics and Eric Johnson and all that. This is straight up Eric Johnson stuff. Here, again, requires a little bit of economy picking, another 3-string grouping in this case. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, right here, I'm going to do alternate picking, starting with a downstroke. Down, up, down, up, down, and then an economy push through down. So make sure you're paying attention to the only danger with economy picking like that, 2 downstrokes in a row, is you just have to be very mindful of your time. You have to be disciplined with your rhythmic subdivisions, because it's easy to rush those because of the economy aspect of what you're doing. Right? And of course you can run that through your other patterns. Okay, example number 6 here is kind of a lick that I initially got this from Dickie from the Allman Brothers. He used to do this looping kind of blues scale lick, and if we're in the key of A, he'd start on the 5th, which is E here, and just come down the blues scale 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he would loop that. So now I've extended this. This is somewhat of a, I don't want to say cliche, but a lick that you'll hear other players do is just expand on this idea by putting 2 notes on the B string and then 3 notes on the G string. And then you can also go up to the high E string. I'm sorry. Those are all 5-note groupings. And you can, the cool thing about this is it's revolving, you can repeat things, and again, it gives this illusion of like the syncopation type thing, but really it's not. It's more of an accent syncopation. But you could do, like in the example here, I have 2 revelations on each one. Right? And, there's no hard rules here. This is just an example. You can hang out on any one of those, or you can do one of each, right? Whatever you want to do, it's just an example. I always invite people to get creative with things, right? And you can hang out on one for a while, or you can just play them one at a time. It's all up to you. Okay, example number 7. Now, I'm kind of thinking A Dorian, and the reason why I went with A Dorian here is because, again, this whole little mini lesson I'm doing here is a result of one of my MI students asking me to actually tab out some of the examples I was showing him. So this one uses triads, and we were talking about A Dorian, so that's why I did it here. So what I'm doing is I'm starting all the way up here, and the first triad that I'm playing is actually F sharp diminished, which A Dorian is really in the key of G if you understand modes. And so this is kind of the 7th triad of G. But what you'll notice is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this triad, the way I have it structured here, only has 4 notes in it. But what I do is I repeat the first note. That makes it 5, and then I use that to slide down to the next one. Right? And that gets you that 5 against 4 type feel. And maybe in this case you're not quite feeling that. So let me see if I can put this against a backing track. Right? So just by repeating that first note and then sliding, that creates a 5-note sequence. That backing track was a little quick, so if you're new to this, you might want to slow it down a little bit and make sure you get that. But that's an example of how you can maybe create a 5-note sequence with triads, right? Even though, triads are really 3 notes, but of course repeating some notes, you can get 5. You just get creative with this stuff. Okay, these are 7th chord arpeggios, and this is similar. Again, I'm kind of an A Dorian, and I'm going to just start. I'm kind of going up the chord scale. I'm thinking first C major 7, so I'm going to start on this B note here and play. You just count those notes as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm thinking C major 7, starting on the 7th. And then D7, starting on the flat 7. And then E minor 7. And then F sharp minor 7, flat 5. And then G major 7. And then A minor 7. And then B minor 7. And then ending up again. So what you want to do is practice these. Remember, these are 5-note groupings, but you want to practice them as, either 8th notes or 16th notes. Okay, pretty cool. And again, these are just examples. You can get creative, of course. And then I also have an extended pentatonic idea. So this is taking, again, I'm kind of staying in the key of A. So we have this very typical extended pentatonic scale that we all know and love, which is playing a little below this box, and then sliding into this box, and then sliding. This is a really common shape. Basically, we're extending through various pentatonic scales. If you're not hip to that, that's a really great shape to use, because the box patterns are great, but when you do some of these extended pentatonics, you get some slides in there, and that's going to come in real handy on this particular sequence. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go, which is really the first pattern that we did, right? The Shawn Lane type pattern. Now I'm going to slide, and then repeat here, and then slide. Now, just for the heck of it, I just decided to continue it up the top 2 strings. So you get this. Right? And that kind of really extends it in a nice way, and it gets you a little bit more of a lengthy lick or line that's not just in a box, right? So that's a very typical extended pentatonic shape. There's other ways you can do that, of course, and if you have other extended pentatonic shapes, I invite you to try it with those. But the trick is you got to slide. After that first group of 5, you got to slide up and start the next group of 5 here. That's the trick to it, right? Okay, and I did example number 10. I'd stayed in the key of A, so we got A minor here, right? And we've got this extended shape here that a lot of people know and love, myself included. So I'm playing on that a little bit, but I change it just a little bit. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go 5, then another 5 here, then a slide, then right here I'm going to slide, and then another slide. Okay, yeah, really fun stuff. So, I don't want to make this too long. I've covered some of this before in my Patreon, but by the way, if you're not a member of the Patreon, make sure you sign up. Next thing I'm doing on my Patreon is I'm doing some deep dives into some of these cage patterns and revealing some secrets that are there that I like to use. But again, I invite you to check out some of the True Fire courses that I have links in the description. And like I said, you can't beat a subscription to True Fire. It gives you all access to all my lessons and everybody else on there, and it's a great deal. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you like and subscribe and everything. And let me know if you're getting hip to some of these 5-note groupings. Now, there's other ways you can do this. All you're going to be able to do is count to 5, and you can come up with little 5-note groupings. Sometimes I'll do a little something like a little looping lick, like maybe I'll take, if I'm in A minor, I'll take something like this. It's 5 notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that way, you know, I can just loop that and, you know. Right? And, you know, the thing with these kind of licks that are kind of cool, even though, like I said, I don't really think of them as syncopation, like rhythmic syncopation, it's more accent syncopation, right? But you are kind of playing an odd thing against an even thing. And if you have a hip rhythm section and they hear that, they might pick up on it and get on board with you. So that's a really great communication tool too. So I don't mind looping something for a little bit to maybe let the guys in the rhythm section or the rest of the band pick up on what I'm throwing down. And maybe at the tail end of it, we kind of get in on the action a little bit before we bring it back home. You know what I mean? So these are all really fun ideas to do that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.